Hello and welcome to this lesson. In the previous lesson, I taught you some diseases of farm animals such as the viral disease. In this lesson, I will be teaching you some bacterial diseases, some fungi diseases and some protozoan diseases. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe at least 2 bacterial diseases, 2 fungi diseases and a protozoan disease. Animal diseases and parasites. This lesson is a continuation of the previous lesson. Today I will be teaching you bacterial diseases, that is diseases caused by bacteria. And the first on the list is Brucellosis. Brucellosis is also known as contagious abortion. This particular disease is caused by a bacteria known as Brucella abortus, and the animals affected by this disease are mainly cattle. Now, what are the symptoms of this disease? That is, animals affected by this disease, what are the signs they show? Like I said before, they affect mainly cattle, particularly pregnant cow. Now, they cause irritation of the uterus lining of the fetus that causes the premature delivery of the fetus. That is, it causes the animal to give birth to the calf prematurely, and most time it is giving birth to dead. That is, it is not alive when it is giving birth to. It causes the animal to have a stillbirth. It happens around 5 months to 7 months during the gestation period of the cow. The calf is giving birth to prematurely. What are the mode of transmission of this disease? How does this disease get to the cattle? Now, when cattle are made to graze in pasture land that are contaminated with such disease, they can contact it from the grasses and legumes that they feed on in pasture land. Also, when the cows are serviced by infected bulls, the cows can also contact it through this process. So ensure while mating animals that infected bulls are not used. That is, bulls that are not infected should be used. Also, when the flies that have rested on the fetus of infected animal perch on the fold of healthy animals, they can contact it through that process. So ensure you dispose the afterbirth, that is the stillbirth, properly to prevent further spread of the disease. Now, what are the effects of this disease? The diseases can result to the following. The first one is loss of fetus. That is, the fetus is lost in the process. The baby calf that's supposed to result is lost in the process. Like I said, it has a stillbirth. Now, reduction in the production of animals. Animals' production tends to reduce. They are not multiplying like they should. Now, thirdly, it can also affect humans due to its zoonotic nature. Zoonotic diseases, they are diseases that can be transferred from animals to man, and brucellosis is one of such. Brucellosis in the body of humans causes inflammation of joints. It is a dangerous disease. It can transfer from animals to man. Aside inflammation of joint, it also causes rashes in the skin of humans. So when the farmer is disposing this disease, absolute care should be taken because this disease is very zoonotic. So while getting rid of the afterbirth or the stillbirth, the farmer should be careful in disposing it. Bare hands should not be used to undo the stillbirth, but instead precautions should be taken, and in some cases it is even good to contact a veterinary expert. What are the control measures? The first one is, if there's any case as such, report to the nearest veterinary office because they can deal with deadly disease like this more than the farmer can. Anthrax, another bacterial disease that is caused by a bacteria known as Bacillus anthracis. It affects cattle, goats, and sheep. And the mode of infection is usually through infected animals and their products. That is, through the products such as feces is spread to other animals and through contact with other animals. And what are the symptoms? Blood oozes out from the nose, the eyes, etc. of the infected animal. and then deaths can result. This disease is a very deadly disease to farm animals. In some cases, it takes time for the symptoms to be established. However, in acute cases, death can result immediately. Now, acute cases are cases of diseases that result and there is little time for the symptoms to manifest, and you can see they end the life of the animal immediately. What are the control measures to this disease? The first line of defense against such disease is vaccination. Also, do not open the carcass of the animal, as the disease is also zoonotic. That is, the dead body of the animal should not be opened by the farmer, because this disease can be transferred from animals to man. You burn and bury deeply any affected animal, and thereafter you disinfect the farm properly, because this disease is very dangerous, and when it affects animals, it wastes them too quickly. Tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is also a bacterial disease caused by Mycobacterium species. It affects most animals, that is almost all the animals, and the symptoms include coughing, emaciation, and finally death. Now, what are the mode of transmission of this disease? It is contact through infected animals, discharge of the animals, or sputum from cough. Now, also from milk of infected animals, that is milk that is infected by the bacteria. What are the effects of this disease? This disease, known as tuberculosis, has a diverse effects on the body of the farm animals, and one of them include the loss of animals, that is, animals die from this disease. There is lower productivity and also capable of transferring to humans, as it is also zoonotic. Like I said before, zoonotic diseases are those that can transfer from animals to humans. What are the control measures to tackle tuberculosis in farm animals? Apparently, there is no treatment for this disease. So when such result, you kill and bury any infected animal deeply. And for those that are not yet infected, it is very important to vaccinate against such disease. Now, there are vaccines that are available to vaccinate against tuberculosis. So regular checking by a veterinarian and practicing good hygiene is also important in preventing this disease. Fowl typhoid. This disease particularly affects poultry birds, and it is also caused by a bacteria. Now, what are the symptoms of this disease? The birds that are affected by fowl typhoid tends to look dull, and they segregate themselves. They separate themselves from the rest of the birds, and they also pass out yellowish diarrhea. Now, these are symptoms to identify a bird that has fowl typhoid. What are the mode of transmission? Healthy birds can contact this disease from infected ones through their droppings, that is, infected droppings of birds. Also, contaminated food, water, and soil can also serve as sources where the disease can be contracted by healthy animals. And the effect of the disease. Generally, this disease can lead to loss of birds, that is, birds die through this disease. What are the control measures? How do we tackle fowl typhoid? You maintain a good sanitation, then carry out vaccination on regular basis, then contact a veterinarian whenever the need arises. Now, when you are using a deep litter system, ensure you change the litter regularly to keep the birds healthy. Now, ringworm, another disease of farm animals, but this time it's caused by a fungi. Now, it affects all animals. What are the symptoms of ringworm? There tends to be lesion or scabs on the skin of animals. That is, the animals, despite having hair, there are spots that has a lot of air removed and there are white patches. Also, it affects poultry birds, and in poultry, the disease is common on the comb and wattles of the poultry birds. There are grey patches or scabs on the birds. What is the mode of transmission? Usually it is through contact with infected animals. When they come in contact with others, they contract it. The effect of this disease are as follows. It results in loss of air of the animals. You see several grey patches in the body of the animal. The animal tends to lose air, which in turn reduces the market value of the animal. Now, when animals are like this, the amount of money they can be sold reduces. What are the control measures in tackling this disease? Maintain a clean condition. Ensure the environment that you keep the animals are clean. The drinkers, the feeders, the litters that the animals live, they are all clean. Now isolate infected animal and treat with iodine. This will help the animal to recover the air faster and heal from the ringworm infestation. Trypanosomiasis. Trypanosomiasis, this is a protozoan disease that is caused by a protozoan known as Trypanosome species, and the animals affected are particularly cattle. Now, the symptoms of this disease include intermittent fever, that is, the fever comes and goes, and there is general weakness of the body, there is loss of air around the tail region, and there is general loss of body condition, and finally, death results. Now, this is an example of animal that is infected with trypanosomiasis. What are the mode of transmission of this particular disease? It is particularly through the bite of the fly known as tsetse fly or Glossina species. And the effect of this disease involves drops in productivity of the animal, and finally, death results. Now, what are the control measures of this disease? Now, you treat with drugs such as trypanosomide, or you rear resistance breeds. There are breeds that are resistant to this disease, such as the Indama breed of cattle and the West African Shorthorn. Now, these breeds are resistant to this disease. You can also control flies population by clearing the bushes around the farm area. Now, this tsetse fly, they live in thick vegetation. So, when clearing the bushes around the farming area helps to reduce the population of the infestation of flies around such region. And this is a good method of controlling this disease. Now, aside all these diseases that have been discussed so far, there are other farm animal diseases which include the likes of coccidiosis in poultry, scabies of cattle, goats, and sheep, now rabbit coccidiosis, hog cholera, also known as swine fever, and also chronic respiratory disease. Now, all these are other type of farm animal diseases. Now, finally, we have come to the end of the lesson. Hope you enjoyed this lesson, and if you did, I will see you in my next class. Thank you.